Call to order, did it, just took attendance, 4 out of 7, we'll take it. We have a quorum. I see that Vermont Youth Documentary Lab presentation is item number 4, so it is not public comment. And is there public comment? Anyone waiting on the Zoom, in the waiting room, anything?
Nothing.
Okay, public comment, check. We have a double on the approval of minutes this evening. Thank you, Carlos, for your research and digging. The June minutes have surfaced. And we ought to take a look at them, see if they need any amending or how accurate they are. And hopefully expedite approval so that we can then move on to approving the August 24th minutes. So shall we go quiet a moment?
Sure.
And peruse the June 22nd meetings? It should be in your electronic packets or live and in person on paper with pizza.
Sent maybe an hour and a half ago.
Got it. Title of that email?
Additional minutes found.
Oh, fabulous. All right. Well, we're gonna rack our brains a little bit. Look at the turnout we had that night.
Well, I mean, Chris would be the only one that could criticize the director's report. Who told us that the youth lab was doing great, and I assume that's correct.
Doing exceptionally.
All right, I just want to make sure we had it all straight.
As I'm reading, it's real clean. I don't even see a typo. After school grants might be found. Yeah, that's good.
Rob, would you just hand me the Coca-Cola? Thanks.
Oh, you want the Coke, sorry.
I don't care. Canada Dry's as good as
Right back in
Coke.
the Coke. No, I'm out.
All right.
You want some, ginger ale
Yeah,
later on there?
I'm gonna switch out.
Yeah, go ahead. I left you ahead.
Thank you.
So June 20 something. June 22nd, I found no errors, not even a typo. Very, very clean work. And anybody see amendments to be amended or fixes to be had on the June minutes?
No, I
Or
think
I would
they
enter,
looked
go
good.
ahead.
They looked good.
They look good.
Yeah.
I could entertain a motion to accept if no one sees a.
I'll move to accept.
Dave Connor has moved to accept the June minutes of 2021. We await a second.
I second.
Thank you, Carlos. No further discussion. I could call the question. All those in favor of approving June 22nd minutes, 2021, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And those opposed, nay. Abstentions? That's a unanimous accepting of the minutes. We'll move on to closer in time, August 24th, 2021. These minutes are awaiting our perusal. Go quiet for 2 to 5, 2 to 4 minutes and reconvene. Momentarily. Great.
Is the amendment approval that's listed there supposed to say we know that video was recorded? Instead of we know was video recorded?
Oh, yeah. good catch. Looks like a word flip.
Mhm.
Mhm. Astronomy Pro Everyone content. Is that? Of course, a 4. But is that a name of a show that CJ was saying is available and could we carry it?
Yes.
I'm gonna assume that should all be sort of capitalized as a title, Astronomy for Everyone.
Is that page 2?
I'm at the bottom of page 1.
There is a page 2, that's what I was getting at.
You're right, it ends at old business, or does it? Oh, yeah, here's page 2. It's just not stable. Should be right in order.
I'll take one.
Sure. We have, by my count, 2 minor tweaks. Word order under approval of minutes and astronomy for everyone just needs to be proper. Further corrections?
What was the second one?
Astronomy Pro everyone.
Who is sure?
Again,
Who is SURE?
Sue. Under item 6.
So it should be Sue.
oh,
Moves.
good catch. Sure moves actually sounds like language, but
Well, it could be discussing Sue's actions. She has sure moves.
right by the seashore. All right, so there is a third correction. Are we adding to corrections or entertaining a motion to accept as corrected with those 3 minor fixes?
I'll certainly move again that we accept as corrected.
Thank you, Dave. Dave so moves to accept with the 3 corrections the August 24th minutes, 2021.
I second.
Thank you, Carlos. Seconds? All those in favor of accepting the August minutes of 2021, please indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
And opposed, nay? All right, we got some heavy lifting done. 2 minutes approved unanimously. I have the pleasure of turning over the floor to Chris, who will share with us the experience he had and the students had with the Vermont Youth Documentary Lab. Thank you, Chris, for making it tonight.
All right, thank you, thank you.
Glad we're recording.
I've given you sharing on.
Okay. So I'm just gonna share my screen. here.
There's nothing on there you don't want to see.
Okay, thank you so much for having me. Appreciate it. I'm gonna just hide this sidebar here. So yeah, this is kind of looking back at the summer that we had, and we were, really fortunate and grateful to ORCA Media, to Rob's support, and to your all support, and everyone that was involved. And we had a really, wonderful and successful first summer. I believe so. I'm just going to kind of talk about what happened, and we'll take a look. So. Yeah, so some of the impact here. So we ultimately ran 6 media arts education programs across 4 Vermont towns and cities. We had a total of 24 youth participants ranging from ages 13 to 19, and we were able to pay 2 youth media support persons that we paid them through the grant that we were awarded. And we'll talk about that in a second. So I'm gonna kind of show a little bit of everything that happened. So this was the exciting kickoff, was in partnership with Town Meeting TV. We were able to run their long-standing youth media summer camp that they've been doing every summer. And we came in and kind of, it was really a lot of great learning experience for what we were going to do in Montpelier later this summer. So we had 5 participants, and they, they're self-directed and decided to do a project on urban forestry in Burlington. So I helped coordinate, and we brought in someone to interview from the Vermont Urban and Community Forestry Program. And yeah, so this is also, everyone's got a link to this PDF, and you can click on the title of the video here, and it'll take you to the YouTube where you can see the project that was created by those participants. And here's some more photos. So we brought everything. We had a kind of a mobile post-production setup too, that you could see everyone gathered around. Yeah.
What building was that?
This is at Town Meeting TV, formerly known as Channel 17 Town Meeting TV in Burlington, at the building that they've been at for a long
Looks like a
time.
pretty good setup.
Yeah, it's a good setup, especially, for us being able to pack everything into a tote and be mobile that way. It was a really great experience too.
How did our being added to it change what they had done before?
Good question. I didn't realize they had a pre-existing thing.
Right. Well, I think that, we were able to bring a new way of doing it, new way of organizing, a new perspective. And, I think that the fact that, we were able to access the grant funds was huge. And that was because of ORCA Media. So that was, because this was a project of ORCA Media, that's how I was able to, apply and was awarded the grant. And that's really what launched this whole summer.
So who had funded the previous summer camp that they've had?
This was
before?
just, yeah, that's a great question. This was just something that was in-house in the town.
So it's part of their budget
Yeah,
to
it's part
do
of the
this.
budget, exactly, yeah. And then their staff would run it.
And how many well, you wouldn't have to know this, but how many of the 4 or 5 kids that were in the program this year had previously been in the same program?
Everyone was new to
Okay.
Town Meeting TV. I think that with the exception of maybe one of the youth participants had experience like coming in through
Yeah.
the high school and had experience in the studio,
Okay.
getting their hands on the equipment. So this was new to them. And this was also like, done under this, the idea of exploring nonfiction storytelling, connecting with, community stories in wherever the folks were at. So in this case, in the Old North End in Burlington. So yeah, here I'll kind of,
So it's all in the north end.
that's where this first part was. Yeah. So
That's great.
and I'll show you here. So Yeah, so this is a little bit more detailed. So this was some of the real highlights of successes. So we were able to create a free and at sliding scale, a donation opportunity for youth to explore a new form of art making. And what we got in our feedback from them was that a lot of them, whether it was in Montpelier or in Burlington, hadn't previously accessed, filmmaking or video production. And so that was really great. They got to explore something that they were previously interested in, but didn't have an opportunity in their school system to get their hands on. So that was great. And then the fact that it was free and also, just the suggested, like I said, donation, that was a big success and accomplishment for us, because that's what we had intended to do. So yeah, the next thing is that we were able to build really great relationships with youth, especially in Montpelier, who have expressed interest in continuing working with us and working with me, which I feel really honored to be a liaison between them and community media, and to keep the media arts education ball rolling in their in Montpelier and within their interests. So they were really interested in kind of like advancing, offering like a second class. So that kind of like got us thinking what we would do for like an intermediate filmmaking class, something that would be like a next level, so that they could come back in the summer. Yeah, so then number 3 I've got here, connecting and empowering local artists so we were able to, through the grant, we were able to pay the teaching artists living wage, what we determined, how many hours that they were contributing to helping us develop the program and the curriculum and writing and helping on the back end, and then actually teaching. That was a real nice, successful aspect of this. So yeah, and then establishing community partnerships, that was huge and is still ongoing, and we'll talk about that in a second. Just whether it's starting conversations with the Chandler Center for the Arts in Randolph about ways that we could partner, starting and then really building a relationship with folks at Suncommon and Waterbury. Yeah, we'll kind of touch on that, and that was really exciting and is ongoing. And then of course the big success was being awarded the Vermont After School Summer Matters grant. So then the next thing we did was partner with the Uprise Camp at the Grassroots Center in Marshfield, and we were able to come in for a few days and help train a small cohort of youth that were interested in media making and how they could apply some of the skills that we brought and some of the equipment that we let them use for a direct action that they had kind of organized themselves in solidarity with the protest against Line 3. So there was a youth-led action in the summer, and we had a small group film and make a small cut and edit a small piece, and we helped support that. Here's some more photos from that, and you can see there's our mobile editing setup again. That's out at the camp, so that was fun to be able to, one of the things we were able to do with the grant money is buy a laptop. So we had, we were able to be more mobile with our post-production too. And you can see there's some audio kind of podcasting setup that we had that was attached to the iPhone that this young person had, and there's a photo from the action.
So did these kids on their own volunteer to be part of this activism workshop?
Yeah, this was something that has been going on for 4 years now. And it's like about 30 young people that come actually from all over the country. We learned it was really neat. And it's like a summer camp, two weeks.
And then who's officially running it?
It's the
Youth Action Camp?
Yeah,
Uprise.
it's Uprise Youth Action Camp is a program of the Grassroots Center, which
And
is
do
kind of,
they have to get permission from parents for kids to get involved in activism?
yeah, I mean, most of them are under 18. So yeah, there's a lot of, I don't really know how.
You didn't have to do that.
that wasn't anything that we were involved with. We just kind of came in as like media support educators and helped the group that was interested in documenting the action, helped them kind of learn some quick media skills so that they would make a good looking piece that they could, and then, you know, kind of
Well,
see
it's
them through.
it's great. I assume though that if the parents gave permission for the kid to participate in something called a video activism workshop, that
Yeah.
there might be activism. You know, like
Up for it,
protest
you
line
guys
3 or
can't.
something.
That's what it was. Yeah, it was all leading towards the big action that they directed and organized, which was against line 3.
That's
in
great.
Montpelier.
So
Yeah.
that was 30 kids involved,
Yeah, but
but you
we,
had 4 that were specifically the documentarians. of-
yeah,
of the
so we got to
action.
work with them over.
And did they self-select or was there workshops?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
the
They,
place?
some of the organizers and like mentors, the adult mentors had kind of let everyone know in the beginning what was going to happen and all the different workshops that we're going to be able, and like if anyone was interested in working with Taylor and I went out there. And so they were like already ready for us when we showed up with our equipment and our,
They'd sorted.
yeah, so that was really a great experience too.
Who owns the final product?
In our, so that was kind of something that we had established early, that the makers themselves would have the
Copyright.
yeah, so that in this case, they would have agency over it, yeah.
And that's not a problem.
No, I mean, I think that is really
You have
empowering
14
you,
to-
yeah.
To 17 or 18,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, but it also, you know, part of that like, especially with the programs that we led, it was, you know, part of the kind of the release form was that they were understanding that this was going to be distributed by us. This was going to be on our website. This was going to be part of ORCA Media.
Yeah,
So, yeah, I mean, if they were uncomfortable with that, we were also okay with that. You know, say you did want to do something that was, you just wanted to have an educational experience and do something more personal and you didn't want it to be on, you know, public access TV. That wasn't the case, but I think that we would definitely, we would be open-minded to that and respect that choice, yeah.
okay.
Yeah, so these are the kind of the learning points. So we really, this was like the big takeaways and challenges, learning points were that it's really important for youth participants to feel like they've created and completed something. You know, we ran 8 to 10 sessions at our biggest program, and that included post-production time. And that was a really, you know, what we found was that there was a lot of interest in completing something. And, you know, even when we were kind of running out of time, the race to the finish was still like important to the youth to finish their project. And, you know, and we did, luckily. And, you know, so that's definitely like something that we really found to be an important aspect. So yeah, also building trust in safe spaces is really essential. We learned from folks that had done similar work, that, you know, somebody at Wide Angle Youth Media, when we were kind of talking to other folks throughout the Northeast, was that, you know, building trust takes half of the time. And that was like, you know, that was huge for us, is to make sure that anybody participating, especially young people, feel like they're in a safe space, so that they can express themselves. And, you know, I'll be open-minded on their end to learn new skills and to participate. Number 3 is a huge thing, having food. As you can imagine, the youth, they ate the whole time and we had food, and that was really emphasized by Vermont After School, and we budgeted heavily for that, and we bought food, and that was awesome. And like, so we had fruits and vegetables and snacks and pizza and lots of, you know, breakfast bars and sparkling water, and they ate
So
everything.
they socialized over food also.
Yeah, and they just, you know, young people are hungry all the time, and that's important to have food. And that we learned that from Town Meeting TV too. You know, they've told us in the past that they under budgeted for that, and kids were sitting there hungry for, you know, 2 hours until they, you know, went on to the next thing in the summer. And so, yeah, that's definitely an important thing. Some of the big challenges were, you know, although it was really amazing that we were able to kind of float around the state, the mobility was an issue. You know, they spent a lot of time packing in our things into totes and unpacking and setting up. And So we learned kind of from that, like finding efficiencies and creative solutions. And
Did you use your own vehicles?
we
or
did,
You didn't
yeah,
have
our
a
own
special
totes and yeah, and Taylor,
YVYDL
yeah.
van or anything?
No, we didn't have anything. And, that was Taylor and I ended up, making a lot of like, which is fine, we were like, luckily we had a lot of totes in our basement and, and we made things work and we found bags and, yeah, so it was great though, all in all, it just took a little bit more time than we kind of expected of our own time, but that's okay. Same with marketing. We learned that marketing and being a new program, trying to say that this is raising awareness and trying to get participants, that takes advertising money, that takes social media posts that cost, that you have to pay for, or what we learned, $300 in 7 days to buy one ad. So we really under budgeted for that and didn't realize how like necessary that was. But we did kind of everything we could. And we really had a lot of help from Montpelier High School in March to kind of, they sent out all our information and we had a lot of people sign up that way for the summer.
Were these any of the people attending summer school?
That's a good question. We didn't find out, but that would have been an interesting. We did do a feedback questionnaire afterwards, and that would be something to ask.
Well, I wondered whether they could get credit for what they did
Right.
with you.
And that's kind of the next step, and I'll mention that in a second.
Okay.
So here's our kind of the big program in Montpelier, which was really exciting, at the Center for Arts and Learning, where we rented the big stage room there downtown. This was over, we did 2 sessions. So we did a group that was 11 to 14 and then a group that was 15 to 19. And this is a picture from the bridge that the bridge photographer took of our older group, 15 to 19. Yeah, and so this was over the course of 4 weekends in August.
Did you take whoever applied?
We did, yeah.
there's no
So
screening
yeah,
process, or they have to
that's an interesting
pass
thing
it,
too to think
knowing how
about.
to stop a camera.
Right, yeah. And I think that we'll talk about that too, like, if there is opportunities for maybe paid fellowships or
Mhm.
opportunities for you, maybe there would be more of an application process. But for this, it was like, anyone that was interested.
Anybody who was
yeah,
interested could
and-
come and
yeah.
do it.
And that's what was a big thing too, to make it free and add a suggested donation so that there was no barrier. So this is a link to the video that the younger group did. This was their idea was to explore composting in the Capitol is what they called it. And so we did some on the street interviews. You can see here, that was a lot of fun. We even tasked some of them to do like a behind the scenes, and they had a lot of fun with that. And then so you can click here and watch the video. So, and then this is the second group, the older youth group that was, like I said, 15 to 19. They wanted to explore street art and public art and kind of ask questions about like how do you fund public art? What are people's opinions about street art and graffiti? So that was a lot of fun. Here we're interviewing Ryan, one of the co-owners at the Rabble Rouser, about all of the art initiatives that the Rabble Rouser has really done, for public art in Montpelier.
And that was all being filmed,
Yeah.
the discussions.
Yes, and that's you can click on the link there to watch that program. And
Can I
so
ask
here's-
a question about the equipment. Was this donated equipment or what you had or what ORCA had?
yeah, that's a great question. It was a little bit of everything. It was we actually donated a camera that we had. We purchased a cinema camera, a 10-year-old cinema camera that's really great, actually, through one of the local sponsorships that we got. And then the grants that we had, we budgeted for some new used equipment. And then we had some cameras from ORCA too. So we had kind of a mixed bag so that they could get their hands on DSLR cameras and a cinema camera, the Canon C100 that we had, And then, of course, like TV production cameras that ORCA has. So they can they were able to look at those three categories, nothing like super high end, but still, they got to see the differences and see how those different cameras can do different things. So these are pictures. That's our editing setup there. And there's the younger group interviewing Mary at Hunger Mountain Co-op about composting. And then there's our two producer interviewers at Rabble Rouser. Yeah, so these are some of the exciting kind of ongoing conversations that have been happening and that we're exploring these community partnerships in different realms. As I said, Suncommon, they were financially had contributed, but also offered up their space in Waterbury to teach classes there. They just super supportive. Jake has kind of been our point person there, just had all kinds of ideas for us, and that was really exciting. And then you'll see too that kind of they were the sponsor of the community film screening that we did at the State House lawn that I'll talk about in a second. Chandler Center for the Arts, we just started talking with the executive director there about doing an after school program and exploring that, and maybe also connecting to their like long running drama program that they do in the summer and bringing just kind of partnering there and bringing in video production. Montpelier High School, so that's an ongoing conversation about coming in and doing an in-school residency. So that's part of their independent blocks that they have, and they call it like flexible pathways. And the other thing is the community-based learning opportunities so that students can come out into the community. And so they did reach out to us just this week, and that's really exciting that there's a student that sent me a letter that is interested in just doing like a mentorship over 10 weeks, and they want to make an independent project, and I would mentor them. And then the Center for Arts and Learning has Pai Von, the executive director there in Montpelier, has been really great. We started by just renting some space they had, but it's become this kind of conversation about maybe running like a youth movie night there, or just continuing running classes there, using their space in different capacities, and just kind of partnering with them. Town Meeting TV, they have offered up us kind of also taking over some more, whether it's summer programming or doing some kind of, one of the things that they mentioned was there's interest in submitting to a youth film festival next year. So like maybe we would kind of do something between Burlington and Montpelier and get a solid project that we could submit from some youth filmmakers. Grassroots Center, same thing, maybe coming back next year and doing the Uprise Camp again. The Bridge, this is exciting too, has talked to us about, how do we bring in more youth participants to make content for the Bridge? Is there a kind of a shared internship or a shared youth producer that could work for ORCA Media and the Bridge, and can we do kind of community youth journalism together? The Possum School has Possum, thank you, just next door, reached out to us about doing a youth filmmaker program, and so we're already kind of putting that on the calendar and figuring out what they're interested in. So that would be like 10 participants over 5 to 10 weeks starting in the new year. Veep, which is running the Vermont's Youth Climate Leaders Academy, reached out to me through Suncommon, and they asked if we can join over Zoom in November to do a kind of a short workshop about something that youth can do with media to connect to climate action. So we've proposed something to them, and we're going to be joining them on November 18th, I believe. So that's really exciting. And then here, so this is the last thing that we did, was the both in Montpelier and in Waterbury. Taylor McNeely ran a 35mm photography class, and this was a lot of fun. They were able to shoot and develop film, and they did some experiments here. You can see with cyanotypes. I don't know if anyone is familiar with cyanotypes. Are really interesting. You can do like sun prints. So they took their film here, you can see, and we're able to do some exposure and artful experiments. And also, yeah, they were able to get some film that we're still dropping off, that we made prints for them too. And this was a really cool community initiative, kind of, because we reached out over Front Porch Forum for just old 35mm cameras. And we had made such cool connections with photographers that have like retired in Montpelier and they're from
That's
New York
great.
City, and we got like 30 cameras. We were able to get 8 working. But
I'm surprised at that number.
yeah, so anyway, so these are the future programs that were
So
like
that was
yeah, okay.
sessions in both Montpelier and Waterbury?
Yeah, so
Or was
actually
it sort of-
Taylor was at Suncomment and then also here at ORCA Media.
So how was that structured in terms of how many and how was the rotation? It was a different rotation, right?
Different group, yeah, totally. Actually, we had one student, one youth participant from the video production August program that joined for Taylor for the photography.
So it
that
was like how many sessions, how many kids each place?
that was 2 sessions over 3 weekends, and she had 4 in each. Yeah.
Thanks.
So do you have a product?
Yeah, I got something to show. Yeah, I'll
Well,
speed it up.
just to add a couple points, Christopher mentioned that the bridge, I don't know if I didn't say anything to you guys, but they did an article on this way.
Yeah, no, it's front page in the latest bridge.
Yeah. And also, all these videos are on Orca's YouTube channel. So if you go
We
to
have a
Orca's
playlist
YouTube channel,
now on
you can watch
Orca
any of
Media.
those. But Christopher may have something he wants to
Well,
show.
I do have a little quick reel I'll show too that, so yeah, just to kind of wrap it up here, this is the things going forward that we're really excited about. Like I said, is Montpelier High School, community-based learning, student mentorship, maybe exploring youth advisory committee we're gonna have a meeting. We invited some youth to join and talk about programs between ORCA and the bridge. After school and in-school residencies, running possibly from like January to May. And that would be whether we come into Montpelier High School, whether we do something here at ORCA. Expanding our summer offerings, for next summer. And then also possibly like exploring youth paid fellowships. That seems, we heard a lot of feedback that youth are interested in filmmaking, interested in video production, but also need to work some, like even if an opportunity is free and they need to work during the summer, they can't even do a free arts
Yeah.
program. So that's huge for us, is that maybe we can get 2 applicants, that get out of that are actually getting a stipend. So the community partner programs like at the Chandler Center for the Arts, actually continuing where we like go out and do something. And then community film screenings. So this was the end of the summer thing. That was really special and exciting, was that we were able to show a film on the State House lawn. And so before we showed the documentary, The Ants and the Grasshopper, which so Suncommon lent us all this great stuff that they have, this blow up projector, we got a PA system, and they bought the film. And then so we came and we did a little, I made a little speech, and so did Jake from Suncommon. And then I showed this. So I will maybe, let's see if we could show it up here. So this links to YouTube if you want to take a look.
Should launch, yeah.
So,
How would it be best so that they could hear it as well?
yeah, that's the question. That is the big question. So,
So this
I
is
think you're
highlights,
sharing
not
your screen.
necessarily a single production that.
Yeah, this was kind of a little bit from everything. Yeah.
so try playing it from your computer, since we're sharing your screen now.
I think the folks that are getting access to the opportunity to put a giant mural on buildings around here, I think it's coming from a really limited pool. I think it's not necessarily taking into consideration challenges that artists face in terms of just communicating about their art. So let alone writing a grant proposal or applying to receive a grant to hang a mural in town. I think the process is probably prohibitive in certain ways. I love graffiti, and you know, we got a new dumpster in the back. They swapped it out, and it was there for a day before it got tagged. And you know, aesthetically, it's not my favorite thing all the time, but I don't know. Somebody going out at night and tagging the dumpster, or tagging the wall of a commercial building. There's a lot worse things people can be doing with their time, and there's some self-expression.
Urban forestry is as much about people as it is about trees. So, there's on the one side, like having a degree in natural resource management, like it's very tangible to be able to work with a tree and to make sure people understand the biology of the tree, how it works, how it's interacting with its environment. Trees provide a lot of benefits, and we're just learning more and more and more about what they're doing for us in these populated places like our urban areas. So that's fun. And then on the other side of it, I really like working with people, and I really like being able to empower people to take charge of something like a tree, which is so tangible. And we do a lot of grants to municipalities, so working with towns to really think about how to manage their urban and community forests better is really engaging and fun work.
My definition of compost is making use of food scraps that would generally be wasted otherwise. My title here is storekeeping manager, so I oversee safety, security, receiving facilities, and the managers on duty. And my participation in compost comes with the facilities department. Our food waste is picked up by Vermont Compost. And then we purchase the compost that they create back from them and sell it to our customers. Generally, we create between 70 and 80 tons of compost each year. So they come twice a week to pick up our food scraps from both the food services department and produce. And they come often with their mules to haul our food scraps back to their facility. That's a good question. Our challenge, we've got it down with the food scraps. I would say it's more with compostable materials like one-use items that are often made with compostable plastics, let's say, that Vermont Compost can't compost that sort of thing. So we'd like to broaden our scope for that in the future.
Even on the small scale, under our roof here, we sell the work of multiple coworkers' art. A lot of us are actually artists, and they've never sold their work anywhere before. They've never gone about that process, and just having stuff up here and selling it, I think has definitely empowered people to, pursue that a little more.
All right, we should be back. Okay, go ahead, Dave.
I just wanted to know if you had regular shots of what a whole day's workshop was like.
Right, that was something that we thought of, but we just didn't have the capacity for, it was just Dave Littlefield and I,
Okay,
and
so you've got pieces.
yeah, we definitely have more behind the scenes
Okay,
photos. We don't have a whole, I mean, when we only had so many cameras too, so we were mostly out, making and making the projects.
so what would give me an estimate of what the ratio of preparation and cleanup and actual time with the kids doing the stuff you want to do?
Yeah, sure. So I think that it's probably like
50-50?
Yeah, 50. I'd say if it's a 2-hour class, it's gonna be an hour before and maybe a half an hour after,
Okay.
depending on, there's a lot of like, kind of like back end, like organizing work that I was just, wanting to maintain, like
Mhm.
the hard drive and file management and things like that, just so that we didn't spend a whole lot of time, having to do all that. But we did really like encourage them to do everything. They were capturing and naming and putting their SD cards in and learning all about that process too. And, so, but as far as like that mobility thing where we were packing up and packing out, that just took a little bit longer.
I'm driving at the fact that public television in Vermont has now pretty much shown over and over and over again the way that ORCA does movies that are made here
Right.
in the state.
Mhm.
And it seems to me this project is already part of a movie that could be made here.
Right. Yeah.
And then it would be shown in a lot of places,
Mhm.
because public television keeps filling their slots
Yeah,
with movies that are made here.
that actually leads to my question. So there was a public art piece. There was a composting piece. There was a climate action piece. There was an urban forestry piece. Those are the 4 youth-made products.
Yeah. Mhm.
So in terms of like, could you put you're a funder and you look at those 4 like as a critique or as, did they get finished? Are they clean? Are they,
Yeah, sure.
because we saw sort of a greatest hits, nice stuff.
Yeah.
But like, what did you learn, I guess, from each, how done was each? How ready for prime time was each? What did you learn about pacing out and actually having an end product at the end versus like the scramble to the finish line?
Right.
Is that a solitary question?
No,
But I
that
don't know
makes
if
a lot of
if
sense.
you
Yeah,
can knock
we did.
off sort of each one.
Yeah, well, I think that what I learned was that just the way that youth navigate the technology is a little bit different in the younger group than in the older group. I think the 15 to 19-year-old group is much more interested in like moving through things and like accomplishing things in a little bit more of an efficient way. And they're just a little bit more familiar with the technology. And like the younger group is, some of them like a little bit more caught up in like the fun of just like doing something new. And like, so that takes a little bit. And then in those cases, there was really like just one person in that younger group that wanted to do the editing or something like that, and not like everyone wanting to try things and get their hands on it, like in the older group.
Sure.
But yeah, I think that with each of them, we did finish something that we were proud of, and we finished something that I think stands alone. We also didn't, have in a lot of ways, like what we set out to do with like the pre-production and the concept development was not necessarily have a like long form project and a super, nuanced take on like necessarily every issue. I mean, we could have expanded on that, just like with any kind of filmmaking, it could be endless. Really, we could explore
complexities.
Yeah, even the public art in Montpelier, we definitely could have explored that much further and interviewed many more people and spent more time on it. So I think it's also like about making decisions, and it's about, Megan O'Rourke in town meeting TV in Burlington said something that I really liked, that was like also teaching soft skills, which is like big too in the funding nonprofit world, which is like coordination and communication and they did research on the subject that was coming in for the interview, and they wrote their own questions to ask them, and all of those things were really that was great. Like, I think that everyone really like sunk their teeth into that, and they did really a good job. Yeah, we had some really amazing young people too. So it could be, different every time. And I imagine, yeah, it's kind of hard to say like. what
Yeah,
was-
we've got the
was-
links.
yeah.
I haven't checked them out.
Yeah, take
yet.
a look. I mean, I think they all did a really great job. They,
Yeah.
Well, along that line, when I was asking about what your product was,
right.
I was thinking of targeted product. So if Suncommon supported something,
Mhm.
you could take up all the pieces you did and all the little scraps you've got, a little package and 5 kids,
Yeah,
and go to a Suncommon board meeting and have them talk about the program and show
true.
the pieces of what they did
Yeah.
to that group and answer questions about it.
Yes, absolutely.
And that would set up a reward for Suncommon for investing in it.
Yeah, I think
Yeah.
that's, and they even suggested that we further explore participating in their climate action film festival every
Mhm.
March. And, maybe we do something that like the youth produce a piece that is more climate action themed, and then they also participate in like a panel, and, so they really have encouraged us
Yeah.
to think about that. And I
But I'm
think, yeah,
thinking anybody who gave you
right,
money
right.
sometimes needs a product to sort of just say, look what we did.
Yes,
Yeah,
definitely.
Look at how
definitely.
well it worked.
Yeah, definitely. I think I totally agree.
Remote questions, any?
I mean, I personally don't have questions. I think it's great what you're doing. I think this was super good. I think this is a step forward in many ways. I do have some notes later on, and we could talk about the notes that I have in terms of like I was thinking about logistics and thinking about how you were transporting the students and all this, and that represents a risk for you in terms of liability. So these are things that we need to hack, we need to resolve in the future, moving forward in the future, because if you're transporting people who are not your kids and all this, we want to be safe. You want to be safe. So
Right, and I will say that was part of the requirements for Vermont After School, and also, just our own. We didn't transport any of the youth participants. When I talked about mobility, we were transporting equipment and ourselves, obviously. But whenever we did anything, we're on foot. So in the Old North End, we were on foot, and in Montpelier, we're just on foot carrying stuff around. But yeah, that's.
And just so you know, we did reach out to our insurance agent to make sure that we were covered under everything. So we were having that communication regularly with them as to the changes to the program.
yeah, no, I think it's great, but I think, moving forward in the future, you want to be able to branch out a little bit more and be able to go places.
Absolutely, yeah, because you probably know well that you can't, make too many types of films or video projects when you're just kind of in a classroom.
Yeah.
But no, I'd love to see what kind of feedback or notes you have.
Yep. Okay.
Any other questions or thoughts for
Oh,
Chris?
just appreciation. Thank you.
Hey, thank you so much, and please, take a look at the stuff that we sent over, and let me know if you do have any other questions that come up, and I'm available.
What would you do different? Like, would you learn about going forward, next time I will or won't?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think that I really valued having other people involved, and if I could do, if I could put more money into, paying other artists in the community to come in and offer up their expertise, or have a special, one-off kind of lecture or something, having a guest filmmaker to share their perspective. I think that would have been really valuable and kind of kept the energy up. And also, I think the other thing is that I would have liked to have more time ultimately with everybody. And I think that was kind of the feedback that we got too, was that everything, all of the programs in their different iterations could have been longer.
Perhaps get off the weekend rotation.
And yeah, and I definitely, that was I was really fixed into my, full-time position and wasn't able to be flexible, but, and doing that kind of Saturday and Sunday, I think also inhibited some people, maybe just doing Saturdays over like a longer spread or.
Right. Now, what do you think about the sort of geographic scope from Marshfield to Burlington I mean, that seems sustainable, or you'd like to anchor down better, or?
Yeah, I think I'd like to anchor down more and be more in central Vermont. I think that we were just kind of really exploring different opportunities that came up and really just trying to put ourselves out there. Yeah.
Surprising funding from COVID.
Yeah, exactly. And we also
Kind
kind
of
of had,
scramble.
yeah, exactly. That was a really amazing, I think, kind of footwork that we ended up pulling off that we're pretty proud of, like we luckily had a lot of interest already and just kind of putting ourselves out there, I think, and trying to do as much as we could. And yeah, I mean, overall, it was awesome.
The other option that's starting to float to the top are advanced placement courses while kids are still in high school.
Right.
It might very well be that some of the higher ed places would like to be able to offer something like what you did.
Yeah, I think that
Is something that would be part of a entrance to college type of tech experience.
yeah, absolutely.
And
And give college credit for it.
Randolph, Harwood, Waterbury,
We share it with Mad River Television.
Right.
but all those high schools have community-based learning programs.
That's right.
If there were a program, if there were something that were built that were offerable to not, once you build it, it's offerable across central Vermont high schools. And if it's credit bearing in this age of proficiencies, it's really helping the schools out.
And business,
Yeah.
helping it out. I mean, you're getting young people that have learned enough in high school to actually be useful, even without a degree.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think that's the exciting thing is that it is kind of like an open book and there's a lot of possibilities and, to just keep, and what, like we've talked a lot about is just integrating it, into like what ORCA Media is doing in general and just trying to bring more people, I think, into ORCA Media would be the next step and trying to be more, yeah, like my partner is really interested in working with like elders in the community and doing more like focused like media skills training with folks that are, whether it's at the senior center or something. So like doing it kind of like taking this like youth idea and doing more like community classes too would be a lot of fun.
And I'm sorry for interrupting, but I also think we should keep like sort of a bulletin of sorts of students that move on, keep tabs on them. Are they still producing stuff? Where can they get access to gear if they need it because they're inspired to do something new? Like give them that option is important. And, even if they're going to college, if they're going to specialize in documentary media or journalism, whatever it is, to have that contact with them, I think it's important.
I think that's huge, for me personally, making those kind of like connections, as personal connections and like artistic connections. And, exactly right. Like, especially being more anchored at ORCA Media and, if I'm, spending more time here, I think that like, just, offering ourselves as like, an opportunity and an access. And we have a studio, we have equipment, we have things that, and we can mentor and we can be here for, young people that are interested to continue making work.
So the other idea, and again, this is my own shtick, is to try to think about building bridges to the senior centers. So there can be intergenerational work.
That's exactly what we're
And to
thinking.
me,
Yeah.
the stick that could be getting people in there isn't just the technology. Many of the people that come there are depressed, dealing with terminal diseases, and don't have any idea how they can leave the best of themselves behind for their children and their grandchildren.
Yeah, I love
And
that.
so for somebody that could help them put together a little kind of biography of their own values and what the life is that they've lived.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Would be a really
you're saying
great.
if youth were trained to be able to bring that out.
Exactly.
to the seniors,
Oh my gosh, that'd be
yeah.
amazing. And I mean, it's right here too. So it's in Montpelier and it's.
And I think the funeral directors would be really thrilled to work with the kids. On how
Yeah,
to do that.
it would be, I think, a
And
really.
the pastors and the rabbis.
Right, yeah. There's a lot of, I mean, that's a huge thing. Like I said, Taylor has really been interested in like, whether it's like youth interviewing elders
Yeah.
or, and that's actually the proposal that we made to the Vermont Youth Climate Leaders Academy is that that youth could do interviews with elders based on like environment and locality. So people that have like witnessed changes in Vermont weather,
Yeah.
Vermont climate, like people that are, so it's kind of this hyper local storytelling and a way for whether it's like and then we thought of this as like an archival project too, to like just archive, Vermont elders talking about, climate and environment and landscape. Yeah.
I would posit that instead of being like that sort of interview, it'd be a conversation between elders and youth. So it's a back and forth.
Right,
So to take it off the elders and kind of see what are shared commonalities, what are the connections or not. I think, versus, just the elders, it's elders, a conversation with elders and youth.
Yeah.
No, I think that also takes a lot of the pressure off of the youth producers too, because it's like I think that there's a lot of nervous energy that goes into like feeling like you're an interviewer and there's an interviewee too. So that, especially if you've never done that kind of
there's an interesting piece that this artist did. Her name is Jane McGonigal, and she's a theorist in terms of gaming, and there was this study which she talked about in gaming, which in I believe it's Japan or somewhere, where youth and people are in the older age do not connect. They don't see eye to eye. They created this program in which they brought together youth and these older people to play video games together.
Oh, wow.
And within a few months, that connection and commonality became, and all those barriers broke down, and they connected with each other.
It's great.
That's amazing. That's
Yep.
I'm pulling that up right now. That's cool. I'll have to take a look at that.
I can send you the link also. I'll find some of her articles. Pretty interesting stuff.
Cool. Okay, thank you.
Well, congrats on pulling all this off.
Yeah,
Thank you.
you
Thank
came
you,
in with
guys.
an idea and then you actually did it. There's many of us that have ideas, but rarely we said, I had a good idea once and I actually accomplished it.
Hey, I think that, if we can do it all in our own way, so that's a big, it was awesome overall.
And now you're shifting into, you've left, what was your previous job?
Yeah, so I did. I have transitioned out of the construction industry. So I was doing IT and office management for New Frameworks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I thought you may be doing like how-to bids for what that, or
Oh,
promotional bids for
no,
what
it was
they do.
really just a lot of like back-end Google admin work,
Got it.
and then also like being on the communications front for sales and all things.
Now, does Suncommon have their own in-house like video production, marketing people?
Suncommon does, yeah. I think that's pretty unique though for, for a Vermont company, although Suncommon was just purchased by iSun, so they've become bigger now. But they're keeping their brand as Suncommon, and they have a marketing and media team that they even produce an audio podcast, and they do a lot of interesting things. But they're part of their mission beyond installing solar panels around the state is that they want to, do policy work and
Shift the
and
conversation.
advocate. Yeah, exactly. And have a conversation about climate. So yeah.
Right. So the shift to part-time here.
That's right. So I am.
What exactly is your role and responsibilities at this point?
Yeah, so as a part-time community engagement manager, I'm kind of taking on a lot of the interface with the public and working with community and yeah, continuing to like explore these options and how other partnerships with ORCA could happen, taking over, you know, the social media realm, the working with some of the community producers here, and yeah, just also like just started this too, so kind of figuring it out.
You looking at me down?
Yeah, I mean,
I'm,
if you want anything, yeah.
I'm enjoying a board meeting where I get to sit. Just
Yeah,
right.
right.
So yeah, Christopher and I have been meeting fairly regularly to talk about, you know, what to work on. And as I said, I said, the Facebook page needs some attention, you know, it's not something I can only get to, so I would love to hand that off to you, as well as the newsletter MailChimp. So I've asked him to start learning a little bit about MailChimp. And then, you know, we've just been sort of taking him through some of the processes here at ORCA Media, familiarizing with the post-production, what it looks like. And getting his email address set up. And there's been a lot of meetings with the, you know, trying to build on the momentum from the summer. So, you know, we had a meeting last week, was it, or the week before, with the bridge to talk about how we can partner with them. We met with the Botcham people, so he's sort of really just trying to keep those community partners engaged and involved in the conversation. Obviously, the schools are in there as well. So
Great, yeah, and I see this as like a like the bulk of this role being like the interface with the public and community, you know, like how the public interacts with ORCA Media. So, you know, being that person that like is facilitating that is huge, I think, and that's gonna like, yeah, whether it is elders in the community or youth and youth programming.
you know, for the most of the past hours, we've been working on trying to get these numbers right for this particular project. But I did also add into it that you know, there's this idea that we don't tell our own story well enough. So being able to produce videos and looking at how we come up with a script that tells the story of what ORCA Media does, right, is on his docket as well.
Good. And then you could foresee offering workshops, either a 1-off, a 2-off, or 4-off.
Oh,
After
absolutely,
school
yeah.
programs throughout our geographic region,
Yeah, that's what I'm really excited about. And, you know, just,
not just summers.
no, exactly, not just summers. And I think that, you know, the feedback that we got was really positive. And, you know, a couple of folks said that they would be interested in doing something throughout the whole school year with us. And yeah, so I feel really like grateful to have that positive feedback. And also the same thing, like whether it's community classes through ORCA or just like public, you know, community producer trainings when somebody walks in the door, I think that's all within the scope of excitement and
Okay.
yeah. Also working with Vermont Access Network too. So I'm their new part-time project coordinator.
Oh, they do have someone.
Yeah.
Great. So that's since Scott, there was been no one there since Scott, or was there
That's-
semi?
Oh,
part-time?
I think Claire may have come on after Scott, and Claire was just wasn't a good fit. I mean, some knowledge about the industry itself that's really helpful, and that Scott and his predecessor, Greg Epler would. So Christopher's been tapping my brain about that as well, and about the understanding the Public Utilities Commission. He even attended in the legislative advocacy van meeting, which meets every Monday at 10:15. I'm on that committee, so we're talking about the work. They're prepping, and I'm getting a little bit into my executive director report, but they're working on an ask for the legislature. So if you remember last year, the legislature hired a consultant to come up with a report. This year, it's like, what is the money we're asking for? We're envisioning that it's not a sustainable funding source, but it is something that would contribute to get us through the next 3 years and it's an ask. So we're just trying to come up with a number for that. How do we get that number? Looking at trends, looking at different access centers, budgets, projections. It's all sort of a world that we're getting used to. And Christopher's sort of tasked to help collect some of that data we have.
That's purely within van.
Yep.
There's stuff for Chris, or We exhausted you.
No, never.
I'll just add that, while Christopher was preparing this report, I was kind of going through the accounts and trying to get a sense on the financials. So in my executive director report, I did get sort of under the finances, an accounting of what the project brought in.
Mhm.
So it's exciting to see that when we total
Should
it all
we,
up.
should we officially call it the financials?
Sure.
All right, thank you so much, Chris. We're moving on to item 5, financial reports, which will include some information about.
Can you send me the numbers over the chat?
They would be on your packet.
Oh yeah, you want to, all right, I'll copy them directly from the packet. Okay.
They're in the packet. I will have some numbers on the balance sheet, but I just wanted, since we're on the VYDL thing, I just wanted to mention, that the numbers are there in the executive director report. As I said, there were a couple things that are still outstanding. There were some corrections to some invoices to the grants that we're working on. There's some invoices we're still waiting on. So this is my best approximation of where we'll land based if all those things come in the way that we expect them to come in. But we do see that Christopher was able to bring in over $26,000 for the program.
Wow.
A lot of that was the summer management grant. There was $3,000 in corporate sponsors from there that on the ask. There was over $2,100 that came from donations from participants in the programs. And as well as that last one is the $1,375 that Town Meeting TV contributed to the program for the weekend that Christopher was there. And then the expenses side, obviously the biggest thing was staffing with the stipends for the additional people besides Christopher, because Christopher's in there, stipends for the teachers as well as some student stipends.
Yes.
Yeah. To Sue's point earlier, was over $6,300 in equipment was purchased through this program. Marketing was about over $1,452.
I'm sorry, can you, oh, I could copy that. That's in the report, right?
The report too.
Okay.
I'm just- My report, Carlos, so you can just pull it right from there. $615, $660 in snacks and rent for the Center for Independent Learning and Arts. Did I get that title right?
Center for Arts and Learning.
Center for Arts and
Yes,
Learning.
yes, Cal, they call it.
Cal, was the $400 rent. So if everything comes down the way that I'm hoping it will come down, we are only on the hook for just over $1,800 for the program.
That's pretty clever to get it that close.
I was surprised when I got to that number. I'm like, whoa. That's because when I anticipated, before we even got to the grants, I was looking at, $7,000 budget, we could bring in maybe 4 or 5. And so I figured, this is going to cost ORCA a couple grand. And so to end up with that number was really appreciative. And that has a lot to do with the work that Christopher did in that fundraising. So.
Great.
Now, something we need to talk about later on is how do we continue doing this if the grant's not going to be there, right? So that's something we're going to have to address at some point.
Yep.
Is it sustainable, right?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was thinking that too, as Christopher was talking about future plans, and was like, all right, so it's going to be a little bit harder to do, but maybe it comes, ORCA contributes more, or we find grants or foundations that support it. But I believe that there is money out there for youth, and in fact, I know there is. It's been demonstrated by this particular project that Christopher did.
Yeah, and can I add to that? I think that part of my role as community engagement manager with ORCA, being in-house, I'll have a little bit more time to actually spend on like general development, and doing that work, whether it's for this project or for ORCA Media in general, going forward. It's like those are all conversations that we're having too, just doing that, like the grunt work of researching and applying to grants and opportunities.
I think we board members should co-sign thank you notes to all the corporate sponsors and other people that donated resources.
Yeah.
That would be great. Yeah, part of
That's a great idea.
what we're going to do in October is send out that I think it's officially called a acknowledgement letter.
Yes. Well, the donations from the participants,
to everybody.
everybody.
Yeah, so
donated,
that they
some
can.
comments, so they can write it off on their taxes
Yeah.
as your organization. So yeah, absolutely. Christopher and I can help him from a
So
tax.
to capture this in the notes, we're going to do this in October, and we're going to send out, what are we going to send out?
Well, actually, it doesn't have to happen in October. That might be a little bit tight, but it's called like a gift acknowledgement letter is what,
Okay.
like nonprofit speak is, so it's like a thank you letter, and it says how much you donated, during what season of the year. You can put a date, but it's mostly important that it's that it's acknowledging that you contributed this much to us during this year, so that in January, when you file your taxes, you have that.
So we'll do it this year. I'll put it in notes for now.
I
And
actually have written them all.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
The deadline is when they file their taxes. So typically, the W-2s would come by the end of January. So I would say that our drop deadline is the end of January.
yeah, I think I just personally goal was to do it
Yeah,
by the end of the year.
Absolutely.
Did the summer managers grant come from the Department of Ed, or what entity released that money? Was like, and is there potential that some version of it might continue?
Yeah, Vermont After School was the facilitator,
And it came from.
and it was all federal dollars.
Oh, it was all federal.
Yeah,
It
so
wasn't stipend.
I don't know exactly the entity. That's a great question. But part of what they're doing in these grant narratives and these reports is like trying to keep this going. It's the part of the
Right.
the Biden administration that has expressed interest in keeping the funding going that they've, because this was all really new funding that they said, yeah.
Well, the thank you notes could go to the corporate sponsors, but also to our congressional delegation.
Yes, great, yeah.
And also they and their people would make sure that it was in the language and the setting that would have the greatest impact.
Yes, I think that that's really important because it's like, that's pretty new to me, but I'm learning quickly that it is important to be able to, highlight and articulate your successes and your impact and the community that you serve and have something to show.
Well, also, if it is federal money, there's a lot of politics involved in it, both before, during, and after. And the after part is most important because of next elections. And
Correct.
so us showing somebody how federal money has actually helped our youth, gain technology and skills during a summer,
Yeah, absolutely.
during a pandemic,
Mhm.
is really a good political item to have for them, for the people that have passed the legislation
Definitely.
to help
yeah.
people through the pandemic.
Dave, are you suggesting a thank you note with all board members signing it?
Yeah.
Okay. And that might be the letter and then maybe a card
Mhm.
with the signature that we haven't done. So we can figure that out. Okay. Other financial stuff. I don't know if Christopher wants to stay or not, but I think we've come to the end of the documentary lab. I know.
Okay, great. Well,
Sneak out if you like.
yeah, thank you all so much.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.
Time and the effort.
I'll grab one of these, if
Right.
you don't mind.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Now, we're doing such a good job, we may have to create some gear. I have to have my HYDL hat.
Yes.
Oh, I know. You want a VYDL hat?
Yeah,
Okay.
it's a good-
Well, I know. We were looking maybe
A
beanies for
t-shirt,
the winter. Yeah.
You
Well,
know,
we did get some t-shirts, and I should have saved one for you guys.
All right.
We can order another round.
Okay.
All right,
We'll get
thank
it
you
out
all.
there. Thank you.
Thanks. Will I see you tomorrow morning or?
Yeah, tomorrow, actually, I have a meeting with the Dance Alliance, Vermont Dance Alliance, about doing some video work
What time is
So,
at 9. So I might swing by right after that.
Okay.
so how do you pronounce Wiersma?
Viersima. with a
So
V.
with a V,
Yeah, it's Dutch.
Wiersma.
Mhm.
Is that Greek?
It's Dutch,
Okay, or Flemish.
right? Yeah, well,
That's quite musical. I just want to make sure I wasn't calling you a weirdo.
oh yeah, well, you can call me that too. That's okay. All right, see you guys. Have a good
Take
night.
care,
Take
guys.
everyone.
Thanks for the time.
All right, so Carl, if you're ready, I can give you the balances for the accounts.
If you put it in a chat, that'll work.
Oh, there's a chat. Somebody's got something in their chat already. Oh, CJ's here? I don't see her.
What time? 7:33.
7:15.
She could have just landed.
I don't see her either. I mean, I know she texted earlier on.
got a message in here, but she's here in the chat, but
That means she made it in. She
Yeah.
wasn't stuck in the waiting room. She got a chat in. Huh.
Oh, I don't know what happened, though. I did receive a text message from her.
Odd.
all right, so first one is the PayPal account, which is at the balance of 3,048.64. And that is all from the youth documentary lab. And we don't typically, I mean, that's where the money from PayPal goes. It's the account that's tied to the PayPal account. And then in checking, we have 28,217.70. And savings, I have 165. 919.64. And then in the youth lab, which is an account I set up that's separate from our main ones, it's just for the lab. There's currently $12,508.23.
And was that generated over the summer or is this set aside recently or what is that?
That money, so there, before we got the reimbursement, I put some in there that he could have access to run the program. And so that's, so it was front loaded and then he had access to it to be able to stuff. And then as the reimbursements go back, it goes into that account.
Okay.
So
I have a question. So that money, the youth lab that's there, you have to extract your money that ORCA in or not?
say that again.
The money that ORCA put in, do we have to extract it from that account?
Yes.
And then is there going to be any remaining monies from that?
I'll have to look at that, Carlos. I don't have the answer to that.
Okay, and if so, does it have to be spent within a certain time for the categories that they want it to be spent in?
Nope, it's nothing. It's not tied to the grant at all. It's just an account that's in our bank.
Okay,
So
and there's no spend it.
there's no need to spend it down. It's
All right.
it's
Okay.
our money.
Okay,
So that means we have a total in cash at our accounts right now of 209,694.21. And then with the Ed Jones a balance of 320,178.70, we are sitting on $529,872.91, which is a good, healthy amount. And one of the things that I've been working on has been talking with the new guy at Ed Jones. His name escapes me right now, Mike, maybe it's Michael. And so we've been meeting every month now to just look at the portfolio as I've taken it over from Mike Doyle. And he's teaching me or learning me about stocks and bonds and where to invest in mutual funds and all that financial stuff. But one of the questions he's been sort of asking is where do we want to invest our funds? So, he has tools where you can look at, and the real question he has, I was like, do you want high risk or low risk ones? And how much does clean money come into the question? And so I said, I would certainly pose that question to the board. My expectation is that if, as much as possible, we do like to see a good return, but we like funds that are rated for pretty clean investments. I think that's a characterization that the board could get behind, and I just was wanting to make sure that I'm moving in the right direction with that with him.
Sounds good to
yes.
me.
Fine, clean.
So it's not in oil or it's not in jails, the prison
Line
system.
3,
Child labor.
Yeah.
it's not in,
And it's very hard to get out of all of that. So it's like if you look at Microsoft, if they have some money in Microsoft in the fund, Microsoft has a lot of money in the prison system. So, you just kind of go on and there's these tools which rate them, and you can never get entirely clean, but you can find funds that are actively trying to look at what, where and take that into consideration.
does he help us identify the cleanest?
He does.
Okay,
So he's the one with the tools and the ratings that are provided by other agencies. And then, there are fund managing or fund analysis tools that will get into looking at where their money is going.
So did I hear at the beginning, Mike Doyle is kind of moving you into the Edward Jones role?
Yep.
And that's a completed process, an ongoing process. Is Mike checked out of that loop?
I think I would say it's pretty completed. I am now a signer on the accounts and, and the one who does meet with him. I think that with the transition from the prior guy, Matt, he left. And so developing a new relationship with the new guy has really been me.
Okay.
so Mike's on the board, but no longer responsible for any aspects of the investments or the report.
Well, he's still a signer in the account as well,
And he's still the treasurer.
and he's still a treasurer.
Okay,
And the interesting thing is, I forget the guy's name, fellow's name, I'm developing this relationship with him, and I can't remember.
you're talking,
Maybe it's
Edward Jones.
Eric, Edward Jones, was saying that he believes Michael Doyle would probably be more interested in the return instead of the progressive or clean.
Sure, yeah, I would agree with that.
But he's, assuming that being a nonprofit board, that we would want to move in that direction, so.
I think also liquidity is important.
It is important, and I've had conversations with him about that. And it's just a matter of, and there are some bonds that are tied up, but there is plenty of funds that he could sell off. He said it would be a day or two before the funds would be available.
Like penalty free type of stuff. Okay.
Okay,
Okay, sounds good.
all right. And then as far as the profit and loss, or the budgets versus actuals that I put up there, I'm not seeing anything that is of concern. We obviously are making more money than I had budgeted, and we're spending less than I budgeted. So I think we're in good shape. I did add some extra new accounts, which include the youth documentary lab. So like 6,100 is expenses for the youth documentary lab. 7090C is the equipment. And then there's income coming as well as 4070 is income on that.
So the equipment purchase stays at ORCA Media and it's branded, given an ORCA Media serial number and that stuff?
It is currently not at ORCA Media, but we have a lot of equipment that's not actually in our premises. So Christopher is in charge of that
Yeah.
equipment right now, but it does go on ORCA's inventory. That's correct.
All right, yeah, that's fine, and that's fine, yes, just checking on that. And are you that's insured, you're probably insured all that or not?
We are, it's on our inventory, so therefore it would be insured.
Okay,
So I don't know if there's any questions with the budget versus actuals, but as I said, I think it's still the same story that I've been saying for the last few months, doing pretty well.
I think I'm appreciating.
There's no changes at MFA.
No.
About money, rent,
We're on our lease,
Parking.
which goes up.
plowing.
Yep.
Nothing.
So I move to move this.
Move to move.
Move
Is
to
it-
accept the financial reports.
Absolutely.
Is there a second?
I second.
And Dave seconds. All those in favor of accept the financial report, please say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? Financial reports unanimously accepted. Rob, committee reports. This is the personnel committee.
I didn't know if you had anything you wanted to do. but-
We met twice. We sorted out the other Chris's old job description to where they actually, these responsibilities actually reside between Zach and Jen, not Jack and Zin. And also shaped out the community engagement coordinator piece. Some of that discussion about compensating Zach and Jen for their time when they were taking on more than their responsibilities. Looks like Rob followed through on that. $2,000 a piece, right? They also presented a letter, and this is probably just of a piece, concerned about the new hire and equitability of salaries and also diversity and inclusion. That letter, I would say, if anyone wants, those were the two big issues they raised. Certainly is available to any board member. Concurrently, Personnel Committee also learned that the language is toxic, that the culture amongst staff is not healthy right now. And that is something we chewed on at the last Personnel Committee meeting as well.
Do you want
I
to,
think,
is there anything we want to get into executive session with, or?
at this point, I'm not naming, I mean, no, I just think the letter that's public knowledge.
Yep.
But I do believe, Carlos did say we're probably at a point where outside help would be wise. In terms of mediating and mitigating tension. I think all of that can be on the public record. But certainly if we go deeper into names and I don't think we need to, that's what the Personnel Committee, the work it did and some of the concerns it fielded in 2 sessions since our last board meeting.
And I'll
You
add
know,
that-
without going into details about this, I think the whole board should read the letter. I mean, everybody should know what's going on within our media, right? So that we're all clear. So it doesn't feel like it's just Rob and us handling this. Does that make sense? And we could do this. I mean, they could do this, take it home later on, and then we could have a discussion afterwards.
This actually, I mean, Dave, you're on the Personnel Committee. You just didn't make it to the meeting where this was.
Correct.
What is this letter?
Very,
What, Mike, Abadi, can we put this on for new business and do it and take it in next time? Or maybe under executive session? Does that make sense?
we don't have the full board here tonight, but I could just call executive session and just read it. Does that make sense?
Well, so, I don't know how to facilitate that with Zoom. Because this is being recorded. And my staff just texted me with a snap of my shot, so I'm not sure how he's getting the shot from the meeting.
Who?
Zach did,
Because the Coke was in the middle of it?
yeah. So somehow he's seeing this meeting.
Well, that's from when I moved, that Coke bottle was completely hiding you.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure what access they might have. I'm not sure I can close it out properly, is what I'm saying.
Interesting. Thought we've had a remote session or a hybrid session where we did go into executive session.
We did.
And how was that
We
handled?
left it open. And I had control of the recording, but this is not my computer. So I don't know.
Oh, okay.
And
That's Zach's computer.
yeah, it's a generic staff one.
Okay.
So they might be getting it into remotely. And then we did have this discussion. It was brought up at our staff meeting that, we need a protocol for executive sessions for the board, because what was happening was I'd have to take the recording and then edit out that section.
Right.
So, which may not be the best practice.
No, it's not.
Yeah, so I would say I do not feel technically comfortable yet to being able to facilitate an executive session.
Sure. And I don't think we need to.
Okay.
All right, so should we put this for new business for next time? Or
okay.
not?
I'm happy to do it that way.
Yeah, I mean, Dave is digesting the letter now, and I just, I think it's very professional, and I think the issues they raise are ones we need to be cognizant of.
So can we just move on with our,
I was appreciative. Yeah, certainly. Committee report, that was my take on what the Personnel Committee did in 2 sessions. Does anyone else want to add anything I might have missed?
no, I personally think I think that's what was recorded there in terms of our dialogue between each other and what we read. So I think it's accurate.
A fair summary, okay. Then we can call Rob back to center stage for the executive director's report.
So just on the staffing issue, as we've already talked about, Christopher has come on as a part-time employee. Also, I'd mentioned that the $2,000 bonuses to Zach and Jen are happening. And also that I've begun work on a salary survey to try to address some of the issues that were in that letter. Have talked and identified which access centers in the state of Vermont have comparable budgets. Had a first conversation with GNAT TV about theirs. So I should be able to, I've begun work. I don't have anything completed yet, but I would say that the work has begun. And then the job descriptions, staff and I are still going over that. There were some revisions and things, concerns that staff brought up at the staff meeting last week. So they are suggesting some revisions. I've got some of those from today, so I'll be getting to look at those and bringing them back to the staff meeting that we have regularly on Thursday afternoons.
Is Chris joining those?
Not yet, but I'm thinking it might be time. Yeah. So, and then just on the statewide level, as I think I've already said this, was that the Vermont Access Network has been working on the legislative work, trying to come up with a number to how much to ask, and that they are planning on a meeting of legislative champions, which, as the consultant has defined, as somebody who will go into another office and say, we need to get this funding in there. Not somebody who's supportive, but who will actually champion and go and make sure that the money is where we need it to be. So that meeting is scheduled, I think, for the second week of November, where the legislative committee Van Legislative Committee will be, is currently identifying who those champions are, and the invitations will go out next week. So. Just also as a notice to you guys, I have stepped down as the chair of the ACN Northeast Regional Board. I had taken on the role when Erica, the former president, had to leave because she was taking a new job that was not in the industry.
I'm sorry, what was the board? It was too fast for me to capture.
It's the Alliance for Community Media Northeast Region Board of Directors. So like ACM Northeast. Erica had stepped down and she had asked me to step up and be chair. And I said, I'm certainly willing to do that if you don't think there's anybody else to do it. It was not something that I was seeking, and it was taking up quite a lot of my time. So I think it'll help with my time management to not have to be the president of that. So it was an interesting year, almost 2 years doing it. It was the year of the pandemic, so it was almost all virtual. But I have stepped down, but I'm still on the board of directors, and I'm playing a key role in the conference that was being planned in Providence, Rhode Island. So I'm anticipating the new chair will keep me on as conference committee chair. And that's the report on that. To-do list, I've been talking with Christopher about the video for telling our story. I still have to get to the policies and procedures updates. And then we have this tabled open house event to be thinking about, but I think that we can also keep that tabled for now because the surge, really, the Delta surge really seems to be running pretty rampant in Vermont right now. So I think we're still a few months out from being able to really sort of.
Sounds like.
Yeah.
Sure, probably think spring.
Yeah, the winter might be, we'll see how the winter goes, but just keeping an eye on the numbers. I've seen the South, which really was the beginning of the Delta variant, is now much cooler than it is. It's been kind of steadily moving north. And Vermont's getting hit in ways that Vermont hasn't seen yet. So.
And there's a new variant in England.
Oh yeah, I know that.
Yes.
It's really bad in England right now.
A new one.
Yeah.
So just to have on your radar also.
And I guess that would be my report.
Questions for Rob or a move to accept?
I move to accept.
Second.
And Dave said, Carlos so moves, Dave seconds, all those in favor, accept, represent, say
Aye.
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 And opposed? That's a unanimous accept of the executive. Do we have any old business lingering? And hearing none, do we have any new business?
is there anything old about what we will or won't or could or couldn't do about John Block?
So can you ask that question again?
Well, he isn't well.
Yeah.
And he's obviously was one of the founding fathers. And I didn't know whether there was anything that we wanted to do as a board to acknowledge that we're continuing, the road that he set out for us. And whether there's any kind of anything that he needs, either in terms of acknowledgement or reminiscences or appreciation or anniversaries or anything like that. So it's a very open question, but I just think that I'd like to keep myself at least informed, because it was he that doggedly asked me to join this board. And because of my respect for him, not that I had great technical skills, but I certainly, appreciated his concern.
So actually, Michael and I did have a conversation earlier about this
Yeah,
today.
it's like a planted question. I mean, it's amazing. We were all thinking the same. thing.
Okay, well, that's good.
So go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
So, I know that John has been in and out of health problems for years now. And,
Yeah.
When you had to resign from the board, and I have awaited the phone call that I dread, when that John has passed.
Yeah.
So, but there certainly is opportunity to recognize the work that he did
Mhm.
for Orca Media in general. And I also would say on a personal note, he was a great mentor when I first came to Orca.
Mhm.
On a side note, that actually coming up on my 10th year anniversary, November 1st, with Orca Media.
Do you know how long he had a role
Since the beginning, I think.
Do we know what the beginning was? Is there anything
2004?
like a birthday for
There was-
Orca?
Was a charter up on?
Yeah, I can find it, there is.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm sorry to interrupt.
2005.
2005, yeah.
Yeah.
So I have one thing first, and the first thing is, I think we should work on creating a scholarship in his name. And that's something that Rob and I have had on our docket, which we totally just, threw it to the side. But that's something that we could work on and definitely have that. And we should start there and have that. That's one thing.
The other thing that I was mentioning, Carlos, was I had this idea that we could name maybe the studio as the John Block Studio here.
And I agree with that. And I would definitely go for that too.
Yep.
I agree with
Block
both of those
Studio,
things.
Stone Hall at BCFA.
And then, I actually think, that if John's still with us, that it might be an opportunity for him to participate in something like that. And I
Yes.
would appreciate.
Yeah, some
That-
kind of
that-
ribbon cutting.
Yeah,
And we actually don't know. We know he reemerged looking really good and energized
About it.
and was an alternate board member and then stepped back from that, but
Have you
no
heard
one
anything,
knows if
David?
he is now
No.
back in assisted living or the state of his health. But,
would Mike Doyle know more?
Probably not. Mike's
Okay.
better at what's up with Bill.
Okay,
So I think I can reach out to Rebecca and check with her.
Thank you.
the idea that we're still postponing our annual meeting or open house, I meant.
Right.
It could be that it could coincide with naming
Yeah.
the studio in John Block's name, the
Yeah,
open
that-
house.
That would be awfully nice.
And so there'd be other people like
Right,
Steve
Yes.
here and so forth.
right.
Yep. So I think,
Okay.
I'm getting a consensus. I don't know if there needs to be.
Flesh
a
that
separate
out.
vote.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no, that feels like
Yeah,
no
happy
motion
coincidence.
necessary. It
Yeah.
was just meeting of the minds.
Yeah,
Great. Thanks for bringing that up, Dave.
sure.
Yeah.
It's funny that Michael and I were talking about it earlier.
Yeah, and so that kind of covers both old and new business. Any other new business? So the question of a December meeting is a tricky one. December begins on a Wednesday, making the third Wednesday, the 21st, and the fourth Wednesday, the 28th.
Wow.
So I don't know if we want to thread the needle around the holidays or just do a weird use the 14th, use the second Tuesday.
14th.
But Rob, you'll be presenting the 2022
The budget.
budget. We'll be saying 2022 in no time.
Yep.
So I think, I don't know, we've got, yeah, the Tuesdays in December, the 7th, the 14th, the 21st, and the 28th. A regular fourth Tuesday would be the 28th. That does not sound
No,
great. The
Nope.
21st? Too tight?
yeah,
Is the
yeah,
four-
yeah,
The 14th, are people amenable to the 14th of December?
I am.
Sue said yes.
I could do that.
All right, so let's call it. Let's call the 14th of December, 6:30, BCFA Studios. Rob will present the budget. It'll be a biggie, year-end extravaganza. And it looks like we'll adjourn at 8:20 on the nose here. Thank you all.
Yep.
Thank you, guys.
Appreciate it.
Thanks CJ if she's out there somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know where she fell into the.
Hey,
All right.
drive back safely.
I know, I gotta make sure I stay awake for the drive.
Yep.
Thank you.
All right,
Loud music, put loud music on.
ending the
All right.
meeting.
Good night.